Welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. This is your weekly rundown. In your first story today, we'll talk about 6-year-old Boram from South Korea, a YouTuber with 2 channels, roughly 30 million subscribers between the 2 of them. One of her largest viewed videos was viewed 376 million times. And dear Lord, she just bought an $8 million property in Seoul, South Korea. Yes, with the profits made from YouTube, her family was able to start an enterprise of sorts, a business, and this business just purchased an $8 million property from her funds that she's been making through YouTube and things like that. I think it's an awesome thing. I think it's great to see that people are having success on the platform still. I'm glad they found a niche that works. And you may be wondering, how does an 8 or a 6-year-old make so much money where they could make $8 million to buy an $8 million property? Well, both her channels are, one is a YouTube vlogging type channel, and the other on YouTube is a toy review channel, which seems to be the main channel she uses. But that's basically what it is. It's kind of like there's another kid out there that's done really well doing toy reviews. I think it's kind of awesome that kids have been able to do this. Hopefully it's what the kids are wanting to do and not being forced upon them or anything. That's my only fear that I have for children doing YouTube, is that sometimes parents, as we've seen, will exploit their children to make a lot of money, then blow all the money. Then when the kids grow up, the kids have nothing. It happened to a gymnast here in the U.S., where she ended up suing her parents because they basically stole all her money and wasted it. And many people think that just because they have children, that whatever money their children make should be theirs. And I don't think that's really how it should work. Like, they should, if they can help, that's great. But you should at least leave some for the kid when they get older. And I'm glad that's what seems to be happening here. They've got a business going, and they're doing a really good job, creating more income and more revenue for the future of that family and this 6-year-old child. So congratulations on the new property. I'm glad to see that people are having success. Really, young kids having success is kind of awesome, because that puts them in a better spot to be successful later in life, I think. Especially if they're able to learn what they're doing and why they're being able to be successful. I think that's awesome. Anyways, on to the next story. In your second story, let's discuss FaceApp. Now, if you remember this FaceApp thing, it's been all the rage lately with people taking pictures of themselves and seeing what they looked like when they were older. And it's been a big hit. A lot of people have enjoyed it. But now a lot of people are panicked and they're not sure what to think because of the possible security concerns with their data. Well, here's the thing. If you signed up for anything like Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube, anything that uses your likeness, your pictures, your videos are part of that business. You've signed off on that by signing up. So there's not really a lot you can do when you've signed up to allow these businesses to have control of your data. But the thing is, the FaceApp hasn't taken any more of your security or your data than any other app you've been using. It's a standard thing. It's a big thing. Went across YouTube and Facebook and all sorts of other social media the other day and last week about how it was, they were using the pictures and able to sell the pictures and all this and that. And the fact is they can. It's just what it is. It's not like anything is different out there. You use Facebook, those pictures that you just uploaded, yeah, they can be used by Facebook to make money if they so choose. Same thing with other photo sharing things, like PhotoBucket, for example, I think was one at one point. Those pictures there, the company can download those pictures and use them for their own means. Why? Because you signed off on that when you didn't read the contract. Because usually when you sign up for things like this, somewhere there's literature for you to read. And they tell you exactly what and what they will not do with your data. So if you're already using FaceApp, you've already used all sorts of other apps, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. If you've already put your data out there for Facebook or anybody else, then what you did with FaceApp isn't going to cause you any more grief than what you did with Facebook or anything else. So I just wanted to clear that up. There are a lot of people out there all panicked about it. It's really not that big of a deal. If you use Facebook, Snapchat, any of that kind of stuff, you've already allowed this stuff out there. And now if you're truly concerned, then I suggest not using Facebook. I suggest not using any of these apps, because if it's something that truly concerns you about your privacy, your safety, your security, whatever, my suggestion is to not use any of these apps, including the one you are watching this broadcast on. But all in all, what I found funny about the whole thing was the people that were scared the most by it were people that are using Facebook, Snapchat, and every other social media option out there. I find it hilarious. But at the same time, it's not that big of a deal, so don't worry about the threat of someone stealing all your information. In your last story today, we'll talk about Robert Mueller, the Mueller investigation, and his testimony last week. If you remember, a few months ago, of course, Donald Trump dropped his report on the Russian interference and possible collusion and obstruction of justice thing going on with Donald Trump. After that report dropped, he did a press conference saying that if he could exonerate Donald Trump, he would have. But he couldn't. And said that it would be up to Congress. That is what he left it in the report, and that's what he said at his press conference. But the GOP and Donald Trump, they came out all saying complete and total exoneration. No wrongdoing at all. Nothing to see here. Look the other way. William Barr, the Attorney General, even said it was a total and complete exoneration of Donald Trump on all charges, on all parts of the investigation. That is a lie. Donald Trump repeated the lie. They are both liars. We know this. But I do believe Attorney General Barr should be removed from his position as Attorney General of the United States of America. We should be able to trust the Attorney General of the United States of America. I have not liked every Attorney General. I did not like John Ashcroft. But guess what? He's better than this guy. At least he told you the truth as he saw it. But this guy's scum. He's pure liar. That's all he is a pure liar. But let's get into a little bit of what Robert Mueller had to say. In his testimony, he discussed how Russia did interfere in our elections, that he did not find collusion between Trump and Russia, but Russia did interfere in our elections, that people in the Trump campaign knew that this help was happening, that they were interfering, and they did not bother to notify the FBI as they probably should have, and that there was no exoneration, I repeat, no exoneration of Donald Trump on the obstruction charge. He left it to Congress for a reason. Because constitutionally, he did not believe he had the authority to indict a sitting president. It was precedent that had not been breached, and he did not want to be the one to do it. So no, he didn't indict him. Because he didn't think he could. Because the precedent has not been set. As is common thing right now, common theme is you can't indict a sitting president. That's the common belief, and it has not been decided one way or not if a sitting president can be indicted. I do not believe. But those are constitutional things he said would have to be resolved before a sitting president could be indicted on anything, let alone obstruction of justice. So when you hear the GOP out there trying to tell you, oh, since he didn't indict him, he's free, he did nothing wrong. No, that's not what the report said. That's not what the report said at all. All you have to do is actually read part of the report and you'll know exactly what he said on obstruction. But he left it to Congress because only Congress can deal with a sitting president. He even hinted that if Donald Trump was no longer president, he could likely be indicted on obstruction of justice charges. Showing you, once again, that Trump is a liar. Because there was no exoneration, there never has been an exoneration, and he never will be exonerated of those charges, because those charges will probably never see a day in court. The only way he would see any charges would be during an impeachment trial, which we'll get to in a second about how I don't believe that should happen. Now, did Robert Mueller do a great job? No. Did he seem like he was unprepared? Yes. Did he seem like he was a bit out of it, like maybe he forgot to sleep the night before? Yeah. But did he do good for Democrats? No. Did he do good for Republicans? No. But it wasn't his job to make Democrats look good. It wasn't his job to make Republicans look good. It was his job to talk about the facts. Talk about the facts of the report. As the Department of Justice had specified that he could not speak on anything outside of the purview of that report, because he had asked for guidance from the DOJ, and that is what their guidance was. So anytime he was asked over something that was maybe outside the purview of that report, he didn't answer it. He refused to answer. And that's reasonable, because he was guided by his former bosses to only repeat basically stuff and discuss stuff within the confines of the Mueller report. So he didn't do great for Democrats because he wasn't supposed to. He didn't do great for Republicans because he wasn't supposed to. But if you hear Republicans out there saying that, oh, it's still nothing to see, complete exoneration, they're lying to you. Because that's not what he said in his testimony. He said the complete opposite in his testimony and in the Mueller report. Now, do I believe the Democrats should seek out impeachment? No. Definitely not at the current juncture. I believe Democrats should come together with a cohesive message and try to actually win in 2020. Win the hearts and minds, because most Americans agree with most of our policy ideas. Most of the policy positions of the left, most Americans agree with. Most Americans agree with things like Medicare for all, or making sure everyone has access to health care. Better public education. Now, we may have a different opinion on how to get there on public education, but I know a lot of people, Republicans and Democrats, do not like the current administration's stance on public education. They're trying to cut funds to it, preventing some kids from being able to go to school even, and hurting the disabled community in the process in the schools. Not to mention what they're doing to trans children. But there are a lot of things out there that we could win over the American population with. All in all, most of the decisions have been decided. It's just a matter of getting more people on board. Because a majority of Americans agree with many policy ideas from people like Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. They agree with them. Many people even agree with Andrew Yang and his freedom dividend he wants to do. But I do not believe Donald Trump should be impeached. One, I don't think you're going to find the evidence to impeach Donald Trump. As much as I don't like Donald Trump, I really believe that you're not going to find evidence to impeach him. Even if you did get the Senate or the Congress in the House to vote to impeach, you would not get a removal from office in the Senate. Therefore, it's a waste of time and U.S. taxpayer dollars to impeach Donald Trump. Because right now, all it makes us look like is whiny little bastards that don't understand anything. That's what it makes it look like. But anyhow, this has been the Big Rand Show. This has been your weekly rundown. I'll see you down the road.